Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to walk you through the process of making French croissants. So first things first, we're going to need a kitchen scale. I recommend using a kitchen scale to make croissants because accuracy is definitely needed when making something as finicky as a croissant. The Détrempe, aka the croissant dough, is a very easy dough to put together, and it comes together very quickly. So unlike other leavening processes, we are going to be using cold butter and cold liquids when we're mixing our dough. We need this dough to be cold throughout the entire process of making the croissants. As a détrempe, we'll be mixing the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients, with the exception of the butter, which will be added last. Now we're going to let the dough hook do all the work here. This is not really something you want to do by hand, and we're going to keep the speed of the mixer on low for the duration of mixing the dough. The dough will slowly come together after about 5 minutes of kneading, and you'll end up with this dry, shaggy dough. It doesn't look like much now, but we're going to let this dough rest. So we'll cover it for about 10 minutes and let it fully absorb the liquid. Once the 10 minutes are up, we're going to add our cubes of cold butter. Knead the dough on a low speed until the butter is fully incorporated. If at all you find the dough sticking to the bowl, you can just simply scrape it down and let the dough hook do its thing. This kneading will take approximately 5 minutes. Now you're going to turn your dough into a nice smooth ball, and you're going to cut slashes across, creating an X. This just makes it easier once the dough proofs to roll it into a rectangle. Now put the dough back into the bowl, cover it, and let it rise for about an hour and a half. During that time, we can prepare our beurre de Tourage. We're going to take a large piece of parchment paper, and we are going to be using European butter. We're going to cut our butter into squares and sit it right in the middle of the parchment paper. So we're going to loosely fold the parchment paper over the butter into a square. Don't worry about the dimensions for now. We're just going to beat this butter with a rolling pin just to make it a little more malleable. When we were making croissants in pastry school, this day was always the loudest day whenever we were creating butter inserts. You needed earplugs for that class. Now, once the butter has reached somewhat of a spreadable consistency, you're going to take advantage of the square parchment surrounding it, and you're going to use the rolling pin to roll it flush into the corners. This will make a perfect square. Now you want to make sure you've rolled the butter completely even throughout. Once you've got your butter square, you can let that chill out in the fridge until you need it. After about an hour and a half, our détrempe dough should have risen to at least a third of its size. We're looking for a controlled rise of this dough. And because we want this dough to remain cold, we're going to put it back in the fridge and let it chill for about an hour at least. Now that an hour has passed and our dough and our butter is completely cool, we're going to take both of them out of the fridge. This is the beginning of our lamination process, where we insert the butter and lock the butter into our Détrempe dough. You want to lightly flour your surface and your rolling pin and gently push the dough upwards and downwards, creating a rectangle. You want to stretch this dough to about twice the size of the butter insert. You can use your rolling pin as a guide to how long it could be, and you can measure along the side of your rolling pin. Ideally, you want your butter and your dough to be around the same temperature. Now carefully place the butter in the middle of your elongated dough. And you're going to take the ends and meet them in the middle. They don't need to overlap, they just need to meet. Then you can pinch the seams on all ends of the dough and turn it a quarter of the way. Now at this point, if your dough is too warm like mine is, because I've been rolling it around and it's a little humid in my kitchen, I just covered it up and put it back in the fridge for about 15 minutes before I continued rolling it again. So now we're going to start on our first turn, which is a double fold, also known as a book fold. We're going to be rolling our dough with the seam facing vertically. Now you have to roll this very gently. Using your rolling pin, you just want to guide it upwards and downwards, trying as best as possible to maintain the rectangle shape. You want to get this dough to the length of about 50 centimeters. Be sure to brush off the excess flour. Now to do a double fold, you take the end closest to you and fold it inwards. Then you take the opposite end and also fold that inwards until they meet in the middle. Leave a little bit of space between the two ends because you're going to fold it like a book. Once you've done that, you can rewrap it and put it back in the fridge to chill for another hour. Once that hour has passed, it is time for our second turn. Before rolling a laminated dough, it's best to tap on the dough or beat the dough first with your rolling pin to help it flatten a little bit. Then you can proceed with rolling, but be gentle because you don't want to break the butter and you don't want to push so hard that the butter ends up adhering to the dough. Any small act will affect your final product. So this time we'll be doing a simple fold, also known as a three-fold. Once your dough has reached the length, don't forget to brush off the excess flour. Then you're going to fold the end closest to you and fold the other end right flush on top. This dough is ready again to go back into the fridge to chill out. So we're going to put it on a tray, rewrap it, and back it goes in the fridge to cool for about an hour. Now that we've completed the churning of the dough, it's time to pre-shape our dough for the next day. Again, you want to lightly tap the dough or beat the dough with your rolling pin before you proceed to roll. That just helps flatten it and makes rolling a lot easier. Now you're going to want to roll this to the dimensions of 36 by 28 centimeters. And I say centimeters because when you're going to put notches, when you cut your triangles, we're going to be using centimeters. If at all you feel your dough starting to resist, simply put it back in the fridge to cool for 15 minutes, and then you can continue rolling. Now this dough has been heavily worked on today, and I feel a lot of resistance with it, so I'm just going to put it back in the fridge and roll it to its dimension tomorrow morning. This dough needs to rest and chill for at least 8 hours or overnight. Now that our dough has had sufficient time to rest and cool down, it is going to be a lot easier to roll it to its dimension. Now, if you were able to do that yesterday without your dough fighting with you, great. Then in the morning, all you need to worry about is cutting. Now with the help of a ruler, I'm just cutting off the edges of my dough. And then I'm creating notches. So they're going to be 8 centimeters from the top. And now that I've done that, I can confidently cut my triangles. Now to roll croissant dough, you're going to want to pull the tail a little bit just to lengthen it. And then from the top of the triangle, you can put a slit and then continue to roll with one motion, just moving the dough forward, putting a little bit of pressure, not too much. The tail, you're going to tuck at the bottom, and when you put it on the tray, make sure the tail of the croissant is at the bottom. Then you can continue to make the rest. And in French fashion, we are going to stay true to the butter croissant and roll it straight without curling the ears. Now we're steps closer to having some fresh croissants. We're going to use our oven as a proofer and boil some water and put the pot at the bottom of the oven. This creates warmth and humidity. We're going to loosely cover our croissants and put them in that oven and leave them in there to proof for 2.5 hours. Once they've proofed, you can transfer them from the oven into the refrigerator and leave them in the fridge for 20 minutes. During their time in the fridge, you can create an egg wash. Take 1 egg yolk and some heavy cream and just mix that together. Once the croissants are ready to come out of the fridge, with a pastry brush, lightly and delicately brush egg wash on the smooth surfaces of the croissant. You do not want to put egg wash on the sides where the layers are. Those layer separations may not be as defined as they should if you do when they bake. Now it's time to bake. At 375 Fahrenheit, you're going to bake these for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you're going to turn the trays around and bake them for another 15. Now you've got your whole house smelling like a boulangerie, and it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. They take a lot of time and extra effort to make, but it's definitely worth it. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My papillon Leo says merci for watching, and thank you for watching from the bottom of my heart. I hope you guys love this. I hope you give it a try, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.